Musu kept walking, feeling hungry and tired, until she couldn't go any further. Sitting down under a big tree, she sang a sad song, hoping for some help. Suddenly, a soft voice echoed in the air. Don't cry, my child. Musu looked up in surprise to see a shimmering figure standing before her. It was her late mother's ghost. Once upon a time, in a faraway village surrounded by big trees, there was a man named Pakamanda. He was not very strong and was 50 years old. Pakamanda had 2 wives. The first wife was Ami, who was very nice. She had a daughter named Musu. The second wife was Kadija, who was not nice and didn't like her mate Ami. Kadija had 4 kids, 2 boys named Musa and Lansana, and 2 girls named Korea and Musu. Among Khadija's kids, Musu was kind and always liked her stepmother Amie and her stepsister Musu. In their village, everyone loved Ami because she was always smiling and helped others. Her daughter Musu was just like her, always kind to everyone. But Khadija, Pakamanda's other wife, was wicked, especially to her mate Ami and Musu, her stepdaughter. Khadija had 4 kids, but only Musu was kind-hearted. Even though her brothers and sister weren't nice to Ami and Musu, Musu always tried to help them and be their friend. Musu kept being kind to Ami and Musu. One day, Khadija, who was always angry at Ami, decided to do something really bad. She wanted to get rid of Ami because she was jealous of her. So Khadija went to a man who knew about herbs and magic. His name was Pa Konkoro. Khadija asked him to help her hurt Ami. Pa Konkoro gave her a special thing called a charm. He told her to put it near Ami's house. When Ami and Musu came back from working in the fields that day, they didn't know about the charm Khadija had put there. Ami accidentally stepped on it, and something terrible happened. She fell down and didn't get up again. Ami had died because of the charm Khadija had put there. Khadija acted like she didn't know anything about it. She pretended to be sad and cried a lot, but deep down, she was happy that Ami was gone. After Ami's death, things got even worse for Musu. Khadija became even meaner and made Musu do all the work in the house. Khadija's own kids, especially Korea and the 2 boys, would laugh and make fun of Musu while she worked. They didn't help her at all. Musu felt really sad and lonely. One day, while Musu was sweeping the floor and wiping away her tears, Musu quietly approached her. "Don't worry, Musu. I'll help you," Musu whispered, giving her a reassuring smile. Musu looked up, surprised and grateful. "Thank you, Musu," she said softly, feeling a glimmer of hope amidst the darkness. Together they finished the chores and Musu felt a little less alone knowing that Musu was on her side. While Musu was gathering firewood in the forest, something magical happened. A spirit suddenly appeared before her and handed her a big bundle of firewood. Musu was amazed and grateful for the unexpected help. "Thank you, kind spirit," she exclaimed, her eyes wide with wonder. When Musu returned home with the firewood, Khadija accused her of stealing it. Musu tried to explain what had happened, but Khadija wouldn't listen. "I didn't steal anything, Mama. A spirit in the forest gave it to me," Musu pleaded desperately. But Khadija just shook her head and scolded Musu even more. Poor Musu felt hopeless as her cries fell on deaf ears. Pakamanda, unable to stand up to his wicked wife, could only watch helplessly as Musu suffered unjustly. Feeling desperate and alone, Musu made a brave decision to leave the village and walk into the scary forest. Along her journey, she met many strange spirits, but they didn't harm her. Musu kept walking, feeling hungry and tired, until she couldn't go any further. Sitting down under a big tree, she sang a sad song, hoping for some help. Suddenly, a soft voice echoed in the air. Don't cry, my child. Musu looked up in surprise to see a shimmering figure standing before her. It was her late mother's ghost. Musu's eyes filled with tears. "Mama, I miss you so much," she cried. Her mother smiled warmly and handed her food and water, comforting her daughter in her time of need. Despite her sorrow, Musu found solace in her mother's loving gesture. knowing that she was never truly alone, but after some time her mother's ghost disappeared. As Musu was resting under the tree, a hunter named Pa al-Haji suddenly appeared, aiming his gun at her. Musu was scared and thought he mistook her for an animal. "Please don't shoot me, sir. I'm not an animal," she cried out, her heart pounding with fear. Pa al-Haji paused, realizing his mistake, and lowered his gun. "I'm sorry, little one. I thought you were a deer," he explained, feeling guilty for scaring her. Musu felt relieved and grateful that the hunter didn't harm her. Pa al-Haji noticed how kind and innocent Musu seemed, despite being alone in the forest. He decided to take her home with him, where she would be safe. "Come with me, little one." "I'll take you back to the village," Pa al-Haji said kindly, offering Musu his hand. Musu smiled, feeling a sense of hope and warmth in Pa al-Haji's gesture. She followed him, grateful for the kindness of a stranger in her time of need. One day, the kind hunter Pa al-Haji decided to help Musu find her way home. He had heard from Musu about her father, Pa Kamanda, who had been worried sick about his missing daughter. Pa al-Haji promised to take her back, hoping to reunite her with her family. But when they reached Musu's home, they found out that nobody knew where she had gone. Pa Kamanda, who had been eagerly awaiting his beloved daughter's return, was devastated. The news hit him so hard that he suffered a heart attack and passed away. As Pa Kamanda's happiness turned into sorrow, Musu felt overwhelmed with guilt and sadness. Khadija and her children, seeing their chance, blamed Musu for Pa Kamanda's death. "It's all your fault. You made Papa die." They accused her, their voices filled with anger and hatred. Musu tried to defend herself, tears streaming down her face, but nobody listened. Even Musu's pleas fell on deaf ears as Kadija and her children continued to mistreat Musu, their hearts filled with bitterness and resentment. The king had a special plan for his son, Prince Ansu. He wanted Prince Ansu to find a kind and caring wife, so he decided to hold a big event at the palace. All the young girls in the village were invited, and Prince Ansu would choose his bride from among them. Ansu's mother, the queen, had a clever idea to find out which girls in the village were truly good-hearted. She transformed herself into an old woman with dirty skin and went to sit on a road where the girls passed by. The queen pretended to be in need of help, carrying big firewood. She asked the girls passing by for help, saying she was tired and needed someone strong to carry the firewood for her. She promised that whoever helped her would receive a reward, which she would give to Prince Ansu to help him identify the kind-hearted girls. As the invitation to the palace approached, Kadija made sure her daughter, Korea, was all ready to go. She wanted Korea to have the chance to meet Prince Ansu and hopefully become his bride. Meanwhile, Kadija kept Musu busy with all the house chores, making sure she wouldn't have the opportunity to go to the palace. Musu spent her days fetching water, sweeping and cleaning, while Kadija's daughter got ready for the big event. On the day of the invitation, as Korea made her way to the palace, she came across the old woman sitting by the road with firewood. But instead of helping her, Korea looked at her with disgust. You're so dirty. I don't want to touch that," Korea exclaimed, wrinkling her nose. "I'm special. I'm going to meet the prince, my future husband." With that, Korea walked past the old woman without lending a hand, thinking only of her own desires and ignoring the opportunity to show kindness. Despite being burdened with all the household chores, Musu decided to take a chance and go to the palace. Along the way, she spotted an old woman struggling with a bundle of firewood. While other villagers ignored her, Musu felt a tug at her heartstrings and approached the old woman. "Can I help you, Grandma?" Musu asked kindly, her eyes full of compassion. The old woman's face lit up with gratitude as Musu took some of the firewood from her hands. Moved by Musu's kindness, the old woman blessed her with beautiful neck beads. "Thank you, my child. You have a kind heart, and kindness always brings blessings," the old woman said with a warm smile. Musu felt a surge of happiness as she continued on her journey to the palace, her heart filled with hope and gratitude for the unexpected gift she had received. As the girls lined up for Prince Ansu to choose his bride, he looked at each one carefully, but none of them seemed right to him. Just when he was about to give up, his eyes fell upon Musu. Despite her dirty appearance from all the chores, Prince Ansu noticed the beautiful neck beads around her neck. He recognized them as a symbol of kindness and compassion. With a warm smile, Prince Ansu approached Musu and asked, "Will you marry me?" Musu's eyes widened in surprise and happiness as she nodded eagerly, feeling like the luckiest girl in the world. Khadija and her daughter, Korea, watched with envy as Prince Ansu chose Musu to be his bride. They couldn't believe it. The king was pleased with his son's choice and announced a date for the wedding ceremony. Musu's heart swelled with joy as she realized that kindness had brought her the greatest happiness of all, the love of Prince Ansu. As Musu returned home, Khadija's jealousy burned hotter than ever. Determined to ruin Musu's happiness before the marriage ceremony, she devised a wicked plan. Seeking the help of another herbalist named Parlamina, Khadija obtained a deadly poison to sabotage Musu's food. Only Khadija, her sons and Korea were in on the plan, deliberately keeping Musu out of it because they knew she wouldn't approve. Khadija instructed them to pretend to go to the farm while secretly poisoning one of the calabashes of food meant for Musu. With the poison in hand, Khadija and her accomplices set their plan in motion. They waited for the perfect opportunity to strike, their hearts filled with malice and deceit. Meanwhile, Musu remained blissfully unaware of the danger lurking around her, her thoughts consumed by the joy of her upcoming wedding to Prince Ansu. But little did she know, her own stepmother was plotting to rob her of her happiness once and for all. Wile Musu and Fere Musu worked diligently at the farm. Khadija's other children returned home hungry and unknowingly ate the poisoned food, including Fere Musu's portion. As Khadija returned home later, she was met with a devastating sight. Her sons and Korea lay lifeless on the ground, surrounded by grieving villagers. Shocked and horrified, Khadija realized the consequences of her evil actions. She fell to her knees, overwhelmed with guilt and despair. In a moment of reckoning, Khadija confessed to her wicked deeds, including the murder of her mate and the attempted murder of Musu. The villagers condemned her actions, their anger and disappointment palpable in the air. Amidst the chaos, Fere Musu, inspired by her own kindness and compassion, stepped forward with tears in her eyes. "We cannot let hate consume us. We must choose kindness and forgiveness," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. Her words touched the hearts of the villagers, who nodded in agreement. Despite her mother's wrongdoing, Fere Musu's strength and wisdom prevailed. Khadija passed away a week later, consumed by her own darkness. Musu married Prince Ansu, living happily ever after with Fere Musu by her side, their bond stronger than ever. The moral lesson of this story is that kindness, compassion, and forgiveness triumph over hatred and cruelty. Musu and Fere Musu's characters exemplify the importance of remaining kind and compassionate, even in the face of adversity. Despite facing mistreatment and betrayal from Khadija and her children, Musu and Fere Musu continued to show kindness and generosity towards others.